Hey, Level Uppers, this is Andrew Midori here, and I'm with the Beast from the East, Dean Marchese, bringing you another reaction time. But this one's going to be a little bit different. We're doing a surprise here, not just TVs, not just movies. We're now doing reactions to big stories, and of course, I had to get together with Dean because we're discussing the Spider-Man, Sony, Marvel deal, whatever you want to call it. This took a lot of people by surprise. It came out of nowhere, and I feel like you're the perfect person to talk to about this, Dean. So bring us through your range of emotions when this announced.
Well, first of all, I'm not really sure why you think I'm the guy to talk about it.
Right?
But let's talk about it. So initially, oh my God, I'm so happy, dude. They've been talking about this forever, and it's one of those things that, like, I was like, yeah, talk. This is never going to happen. Sony is never going to give up the rights. And they didn't. They made a deal, which is even cooler. Oh my gosh, dude, I'm just so happy. Spider-Man is my all-time favorite. And to see him swinging next to the rest of the Avengers, maybe even see him get his Iron Man made suit in Civil War. I mean, my mind's been reeling for days over this.
Yeah, definitely. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up an article that was written on IGN today because we weren't going to do this story. We were actually going to skip it over because it's kind of like old news now, right? It happened a few days ago. Everybody's covering it.
Right.
But then today, I think today, Variety put out an article, and there's some more information that is coming out about what this deal means necessarily. So I'm taking this directly from IGN. It's an article by Steve Watts, but he pulled the information from Variety. But it's a good breakdown of some of the bullet points of this lease is what it kind of actually is. So let's start with the first one, and then I'll go to you, Dean. Marvel isn't paying a dime to Sony for the rights to use Spidey, but the studio won't receive a cut of the earnings of any of Sony's Spider-Man films, and Sony won't get a cut of the Marvel films that feature Spider-Man. Marvel also controls the merchandising rights to Spidey. Sorry about that. So what do you think of that? So Marvel isn't getting a dime from this.
Well, first, you know what? I read the same story earlier, and my initial gut reaction is this deal is hilarious because it's just so funny, dude. I don't know. No one's really making any money off of each other. It's just like it's kind of awesome as well as hilarious because nobody's making any money, but at the same time, they both understand Sony and Marvel want to do Spider-Man justice. For a while before Iron Man ever came onto the scene, Spider-Man was Marvel's flagship character. He was the face of Marvel. So I think they just are. Sony's finally like, you know what? We won't take anything from you. You don't take anything from us. But let's give this guy the glory that he deserves.
Yeah, and they're both benefiting from it in a way. We'll talk about that in just a moment. First, the next bullet point says, the new Spidey will first appear in a Marvel movie, reportedly Captain America Civil War, which makes perfect sense, before getting his own standalone film from Sony on July 28, 2017. Marvel Cinematic Universe characters could also appear in the new Spider-Man films, which I think is the best part of this, is even the Sony Spider-Man films might be getting Iron Man and any of the others as well.
That would be weird but cool. I'm all for it. Anything's possible at this point.
Another interesting thing here is that the Marvel Studios head Kevin Feige is not being compensated whatsoever for producing Sony's 2017 Spider-Man film. He's not getting a cent.
Yep.
Interesting. After that, Sony will have final say over casting for the new Spider-Man, and it is said to be looking for an actor much younger than Andrew Garfield, who is 31. Sony is looking to go back to Spidey's roots and put the character back in high school. Now, I'm not sure how I feel about this part of it. We were all kind of hoping, at least I know Mike and I were hoping, that they were actually going to go with an older Spider-Man. We've already done the young Spider-Man. We already did Tobey Maguire in high school. And first of all, I have to say that Andrew Garfield was actually a good Spider-Man, and I think that he kind of got the shaft here.
Absolutely. I loved Andrew Garfield, you know what? And it's going to be really hard for me to shake him as what I identify as Peter Parker because as someone who's been reading the comics, he really killed it as Peter Parker. So that's a shame. It is. I agree.
And he was so passionate about it. I remember the first time he kind of announced himself at Comic-Con. He came out wearing the Spidey costume, talking about how he's this enormous fan, and then he takes off the mask, and everybody goes nuts. It's like, this guy must feel so disappointed. He finally became his hero, his hero who is Spider-Man, and then they take it away from him because nothing that was his fault, really. The first film wasn't bad, The Amazing Spider-Man. The second film, I'm not sure how to feel about that one. Electro was used in the wrong way. The script wasn't great. The pacing wasn't great. But none of that was Andrew Garfield's fault. He did a great job as Peter Parker and as Spider-Man.
I agree totally. In fact, I actually enjoyed, in one way or another, I enjoyed both of those movies. I agree, Electro was no good, and the movie was just overall bloated. But I actually really enjoyed some of the special effects and some of the choreographed like fight scenes in that movie were pretty awesome to watch. And it's just a shame, but you know what? Not everybody gets that Robert Downey Jr. run of movies, but it's nice, even though right, yeah. It's nice that he has these two movies, though. They're not going anywhere. They're not going to like remove them from the press or anything. So he's always got that to look back on. That's kind of cool.
Going back to what you're talking about, cinematography, I agree that the action and stuff was pretty good in the Spider-Man films, but Mark Webb, the director of Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, he is not coming back for this reboot, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
I think that's okay, though. I mean, as much as I did like the action, I feel like there probably is a better director for this. Mark Webb was coming off of 500 Days of Summer.
And that's really all.
Yeah, right? And that's when he did Amazing Spider-Man. It's almost like his last name is Webb. Let's go with this guy.
Yeah, exactly.
So weird. But I have to say that he did a pretty decent job. Everybody always gets on his use of music within the movies, and I do think there was some awkward choices here and there that kind of just filled a scene where it didn't belong. But I'm very curious to see who they go with director-wise, but also Peter Parker-wise. Do you have any person that you have in mind for this character?
You know what? Actually, I was reading earlier today. They had said Logan Lerman, who people might know from Perks of Being a Wallflower, and Percy Jackson. He was rumored originally when they cast Andrew Garfield. Now his name's coming back up again, as well as I don't know his name offhand. Maybe you do. It's he played Teen Wolf. He currently plays Teen Wolf. He was also
in a TV show on MTV.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't hear of him, and I have to say I don't really like that choice. I do like Logan Lerman. I think Logan Lerman, first of all, is a really good actor, like a surprisingly good actor. Coming off of some of his the Percy Jackson films, he was fine in those, but then Perks of Being a Wallflower, which has always been one of my favorite books, actually, I thought he just nailed Charlie in that film, and he totally pulls off the nice guy, Peter Parker. If he has the wit and the sassiness of Peter Parker, I don't know. But also, is he young enough? Is he not young enough for high school? He's probably in his mid-20s, like 20.
He's 23, actually. Both actors that are rumored right now are 23, yeah.
Okay, then he still is a possibility. They could definitely youngen him up for this role.
Oh, yeah, I think so.
So he's my top choice right now, Logan Lerman, for sure.
I honestly would kind of like to see an unknown actor get a stab at this. I think it would do them some good, and just get somebody in here who we don't know, who we don't have any assumptions about, and let's see what he does. I mean, that generally seems to work out in these types of movies.
All right, let's move on to the next bullet point here. Amazing Spidey producers I think it's Avi Arad or Avi Arad.
I think it's Avi Arad.
Avi Arad and Matt Tomach have been bumped down to executive producers with no real say in the creative direction of the character moving forward. Arad was a key player with both Marvel and Spider-Man for many years and was sort of proto-Kevin Feige as Marvel became increasingly immersed in the world of film and TV beginning in the late 1990s. So that's just more closure, I guess, on those guys. They're moving to new people now. And moving after that, one source claims that this could be the first step towards a larger plan to reacquire Spider-Man by Marvel, while another speculates that Disney is angling to acquire Sony Pictures entirely if it goes on the market.
Well, I could see why they might want to purchase Sony Pictures, and I could see why that would work out for Sony Pictures, because they've really been in financially in the red, I believe, for like a long time.
Not just that, I mean, just the entire debacle recently, the hacking
with the interview and everything. Yeah, it was all bad.
It was all bad. That's for sure.
It was all terrible. But
let's be honest.
As far as that deal goes, I'm not really sure. However, on speaking of the Marvel trying to reacquire Spider-Man, I really think that this was their way of slowly, kind of shushing Sony along and trying to get back those rights, which I really hope. While Kevin Feige is still here, I really hope he can make it happen.
Yeah, supposedly Marvel Disney offered Sony $1 billion originally for the character, and Sony declined it. I think that was before Amazing Spider-Man 2, but as good as Spider-Man 2 did, it didn't live up to expectations at all when it comes to box office and whatnot. So maybe that's the reason this was revisited, and especially following the Sony hacking and all that kind of stuff. They needed something, and maybe this'll put them back in a good light if Marvel jumps on board and turns Spider-Man into what it's kind of supposed to be. I still feel like none of the Spider-Man films have blown me away, except for maybe Spider-Man 2 with Tobey Maguire and Doc Ock.
Spider-Man 2, I love that movie, actually.
Yeah.
That was really good.
That has some of the best action scenes still in comic book films. The train scene is...
Oh, yeah, dude. When he's fighting in the train scene and he there's the one scene where they're going under the bridge and he slips through that metal bar is like my favorite thing ever.
Yeah, that one is a great movie, but 1 is just decent, and I think 3 is kind of bad. So,
I think 3 is reviewed as one of the most hated superhero films.
Yeah. So we're still kind of waiting on that just unbelievable series of Spider-Man films. I still feel like they haven't nailed it. Maybe finally they will get to that. But we're not just looking at Spider-Man films. It sounds like Sinister Six, Venom, and a female Spidey film are still kind of in the works. They did not end those entirely. Amazing Spider-Man 3 is dead, but those other ones might still come.
They had a lot of goofy things in the works. There was an Aunt May solo film rumored. There's just some bad... I think this is what really gave Marvel the final push to try and strike up a deal here. And I think Sony heard the fans' reactions to this stuff, and they were like, maybe we should make a deal also, because that was just garbage, straight garbage.
May is like, what kind of spy was she again? I can't even remember.
Oh my god, I don't even know. I read it, and I vomited in my mouth a little bit.
It really did sound bad. And even during the Sony hacking, when you found the emails of them being in talks with Marvel, even Marvel was like, no, this isn't happening. This is a bad idea. It's like, come on, who thought this was a good idea?
It's just such a shame. He's like I said, he's beloved. He's my favorite ever, and I really I'm so glad this happened, dude. I really started fearing the worst when I heard about these projects.
Yeah. But then, with you being such a huge fan, how do you want him to be introduced into Civil War if that's what happens?
I feel like he needs to... Well, here's the problem. We're not going to have that attachment. In Civil War, spoilers for Civil War comics, which you really should have read by now. Those are great comics. It's a big deal because we know Peter. We know who's under the mask. We have this relationship with him. But now that Andrew Garfield's been dropped... When comes the scene where he's standing with Iron Man in front of the press and he takes his masks off and he's like, I'm Peter Parker. I've been Spider-Man since I was a kid. I don't know if it's going to have that same effect because it's just this new actor and we're like, okay, this is the first time we've seen you as Spider-Man. So, but yeah, I think it has to be Peter Parker. There's been some rumors that it may be Miles Morales, Ultimate Spider-Man. It's got to be Peter Parker. I have nothing
against that character. I have nothing against them doing that in the comic book series, but I agree. It has to be Peter Parker. It wouldn't have any meaning really if they go that direction with Civil War and it's Miles Morales. It won't have.
No, and Miles Morales wasn't a part of Civil War. Peter Parker's personality, ultimately in the end of Civil War, is really what plays a great role because he kind of brings everybody back together and on to the bigger focus. So it really kind of has to be Peter Parker. Also, Miles Morales is 8 years old in the comic books, so that would be real weird.
I didn't know he was that young.
Yeah, he's like a child, and they picture him doing adult things and stuff. But he's in text. They say he's 8 years old.
Okay, that's weird. I didn't know that.
So 8-year-old Miles Morales hanging out with alcoholic Tony Stark might not be the best thing.
That sounds like amazing. Never mind. I want this. This is what I want from the next Spider-Man movie. Please give us that. But either way, I think we have a lot to be excited about. We got Avengers, in the near future. All the Marvel movies look great. And then hopefully we get maybe we'll finally get a Batman versus Superman thing pretty soon, and we can do another reaction time on that.
I'm hoping. It's due, right? It's got to be coming soon. They got to start marketing.
It's going to be fun to do these kind of videos, though, with reaction time, these kind of reactions to big Marvel news stories and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to it, man.
Nice. So thanks for doing this with me, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me, dude. It's my pleasure.
We'll do a lot of these in the near future, guys. If you want to leave some comments, please do below, or feedback, of course. We just started this thing. Reaction time is now 2 days old, so please leave us some feedback. Let us know what you want us to do with this. And of course, if you want to help the network do more videos like this one, go to Patreon at patreon.com/theLevelUpNetwork. The link is right there at the bottom of the screen. Click that. Check out the rewards you guys can get for donating. And of course, take care. Level up. See you, Dean.
Level up. See you, man.
All right. Later, guys.